All right. Now on to Leanne and Laura.
Okay, so we worked with an app called FreshGrade, which is actually not something as much that is an educational tool for students. It's actually kind of a helpful tool that teachers have. So in a sense, it's almost like report cards. It's an application where you can load your entire class, and it's kind of their personal little profiles for each student in the class, so that she's able to kind of record and keep track of each individual student's progress, and it gets sent to all the parents.
What grade is this?
And family. This is grade.
This is a 1-2 split class. Yeah. When we had our consultation with Lauren, she had this idea all planned out, but she's been working with FreshGrade since the start of the year. So she just gave us this plan. She wanted us to go through it, and we figured it out from there. So she has been documenting the students' progress with FreshGrade since September. So every day in class, she'll take pictures of even like crafts they make, or just pictures of them working, or put their assignments up there, and their parents are all connected, so they can see it right away when their kids are doing things in class. It's really, it's really cool. And their parents will comment and be like, "Oh, great job!" It's really cute. So she wanted us to document every kid's reading ability, but with one teacher in a class of 23, and a very time-consuming activity with 22 other students busy, she couldn't do it herself. So she took advantage of having us in the classroom to be able to do this for her. There were a couple students with some difficulties focusing in class, but because this was a one-on-one, very brief sort of project with each individual student, it wasn't an issue in this context. So while we were working with FreshGrade and the students, she just taught a lesson to the class, and we pulled the students out one by one.
And she actually already had the iPads available. I think that hearing all the other stories of all the other teachers, how some of them didn't have any technology yet, she actually already did. She had 2 iPads, and she also had been using her phone already.
And Apple TV in the classroom, she was pretty tech savvy, so she was no stranger to this sort of stuff.
I taught her. Not technology, physics.
So I guess the one thing that we found getting started was just kind of uploading everything and making sure that everything was working. I guess, we kind of talked about that one already. So anyways, I guess we can also say that some of the other teachers, her neighboring classroom, they actually have also started to use FreshGrade as well. And they've also really enjoyed it so far, because it is such an easy thing. I think somewhere I put a picture up that it's actually, you can see the individual little pictures of each kid too. So if you ever wanted to look up somebody, this is actually, it's just simple. It almost just looks almost like a Facebook thing, but it's just a lot, obviously, more private.
So we had some difficulties. This was the day after the power went out in the class. And Braithwaite had a lot of power outages, and their Wi-Fi was being a little difficult that day. So we had some issues getting started, just because we would take a video of the first student, who was our little prototype kid for this project. The iPad just couldn't upload the video. It wasn't working, so we had to kind of play around. There were 3 iPads that we had to work with. One was Lauren's daughter's, so they weren't all the class iPads. And eventually we had to switch to using her phone, because it could handle uploading the videos even when the iPads couldn't. So we had
Good adaptation, though. Good.
Yeah, and we tried taking shorter videos. They would upload quicker and all this stuff. But once we figured that out, it was pretty smooth. We just pulled the kids one at a time. A few were missing, so they went a little quicker than anticipated after all that issue. And just filmed them reading. And it was really interesting, because the kids are obviously all at wildly different reading levels, but this allowed them to see themselves reading and hear themselves reading. So as a child who might think that they're more advanced than they are, can go back and see, oh, okay, I need to practice sounding out my words. I'm trying to go too fast.
And she was also showing us too how excited they do get about it, because sometimes they'll like finish an art project and they're like, take a picture of me with this. They really wanted to.
This definitely falls under the redefinition category in the SAMR model, because without these video recordings of the students reading, they would never be able to objectively see themselves doing this. It just wouldn't be possible. So they're able to evaluate their own progress and see themselves, because she has a 26 level reading system that the kids are working through. Each level is a letter of the alphabet, so they just gradually move through these slightly increasing difficulty books. So they can see themselves actually progressing through structured levels, as well as hear themselves progressing when they listen to videos from September as opposed to now. So
I think that maybe one challenge that Fresh Grade has, though, is I asked Laura and I said, well, does this really replace report cards? Because people ask about, their kids progress all the time. And she actually said it doesn't sometimes. Sometimes parents still come in like, why is my kid doing this and this? And you have to just be like, it's supposed to be helpful. So it's almost like you have to get all the parents involved with the app is probably one of the big challenges too, because if they know how to really be connected with it probably would answer a lot more questions and save time of them coming in and talking to her. Everybody has to do it too.
She said essentially it should replace report cards, just the parents couldn't quite grasp that and wanted the paper copy of exactly what they already had anyway. So just because they couldn't figure out how that was a report card. So I feel like once everyone's a little more adjusted to this idea, they can absolutely replace paper report cards.
And this is just this first year. I know Lauren's one of the first teachers to be doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a couple of other schools that are doing it.
Definitely be a learning curve for everybody.
Well, I actually talked to her. She's thinking about doing her master's. And I said, "Well, this would be a great thing to do your master's on." So she's already starting a project that could become a research type of format. Questions for Laura and Lauren?
So, do the kids are they able to look at Fresh Grade, or is this solely for?
There are 3 different apps within the whole Fresh Grade system. There's the teacher, the parent, and the student. So the parents all have it, and they're connected right into the teacher's class system, so they can see their child.
The kids just get a little limited.
Yeah, there's also a student version, so they can log in and see their own.
Because I was just thinking, it's great to show the parents, I guess, how great their kid's doing. If the kid is behind in reading, and then the kid sees the video that's shows them struggling.
They don't see the rest of the class. They can only see your own child.
But they can see all their own work.
Yes.
Yeah. And also if she does a group picture, group video, you can tag the person, and then that video would then go to her. Yeah.
You're in charge. You decide.
Is the app free?
Yes.
Yeah. The teacher one, I think, you can't just find the teacher one on the App Store.
So just to get context, good question. It's free.
Yeah.
It's a proprietary software from the US who have put a server in Kelowna. So by FIPA, when we studied being in the class, it's legal because it's not outside. Therefore, parents can just give permission to use it and then you just carry on using it. The only drawback is if the server goes down, there's a backup server in the US, which means they must be copying stuff across the border. So that's become a little bit controversial. But this company seems to be committed, but their idea is that if they make it work so well, then they will charge. But that will be negotiated, but the system is working. So, Lauren says, whilst it's free, I'm going to work it just to see how well it will work, and then we'll decide that.
Easy to use. There's the big buttons at the bottom, the big video button, the big picture button,
super
and just push upload.
And there's also options to add.
Look at Techo there.
Whether they've completed certain assignments and see. There's a little pie chart in one spot showing how much of the class are at this level and how much at this level.
Yeah.
So would you say it's not very time consuming for the teacher?
Well, in this sort of situation, when it was filming each student for 1 minute plus uploading time, it would have taken Laura hours by herself to pull each child one at a time, let her class do who knows what, while she's working individually with each student.
Yeah.
So with us, it took a super long time. So I can't
But
imagine with just
she
her.
was saying that because it is still a new system. I guess at one point she had taken a video of each child singing in a line.
Yeah.
And so she took a video, and it took her an hour,
Yeah, 45 minutes
or something to get all them all done. And then once she pushed upload, she didn't push upload or uploaded them individually properly. So only maybe four of those worked.
Older kids.
So there's still definitely glitches to work out in the system,
Yeah,
but
peer coaching.
yeah.
Peer.
The reason
With 2 of us and her teaching, it worked quite smoothly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking is because I know a little person who's in that class, and I was talking to her mom, and her mom was like, "I'm getting pictures of Mabel when she's on the playground. Yeah, Mabel is a sweet treat. And the mom was like, what is this teacher doing with her time? Like, doesn't she have a million other things to do? I really don't care that much. And so,
The kids get so excited about it.
Okay.
They were rushing up to
like,
Laura, like, I made this out of Lego, take a picture and show my parents. They're all
Right.
so excited.
okay. So there is
Yeah.
like, it will become more effective over time, do you
I
think?
think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just wondering, do all of the photos and videos have to be taken or like recorded within the app?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's the other thing too. Yeah, they don't, once they're recorded, it doesn't go onto your personal iPad. It's just recorded and saved in the app itself.
Which works as a nice little privacy thing too. The students' photos
Right.
and videos aren't just on the iPad.
Well, it's in the machine, but it's going to be uploaded, and it's probably wiped once your machine's
Yeah,
logged off.
Probably,
Right.
yeah.
Last one.
My thing would be, we just had like teacher like meeting consent forms. So how long has she been using the app for?
Since September.
So this is the first year. What if she mentioned if she had like any students' parents that declined this having their students recorded and everything? Like would she change her whole plan of using Freshgrade?
She didn't mention anything like that, but I'm sure she would. But this sort of thing also, it's not something you can just find online. The parents, to be able to see this, they have to input a code that the teacher gives them. And the students have to do the same thing. So it's very, very secure. So no one online can just kind of find it. But yeah, she was talking about it.
It's a good question because, in fact, why the first graders put the server in Kelowna, it means the teacher can tell the parents we're doing this, and just for your information. If the server wasn't in Kelowna, they would have to get the parents' permission, in which case there would be issues of privacy. So that's what the district's working through, because they want it to be a wholesale, because otherwise, like Michaela's indicating, it would be impossible to have some kids on and some kids not, because you wouldn't be able to function, right? So that's why the district is trying to make sure that all parents are being educated, and some have not done fresh grade because of that, but some teachers like Lauren, there's a couple at Hillcrest, have taken it up, because once they've worked through it, then they can tell the parents, look what happens when you do this. Last really good question from Erin.
So, is the point of this to be able to visually see what your child is doing, or can you also use it, because you were saying it was a place report card, so say every child has a mark on a test and they make, do you have to like take a picture of every
No,
test?
I think it's like more to the teacher's discretion, I think, and it's more just seeing how your child's been progressing in certain ways. Like
But there was a way for her to upload or say that there was this assignment they just did, and on each student's profile, put their mark, not as a picture, just like, because it is an educational tool, it's set up to do that sort of thing, and it has their grades, it has their different levels compared to the rest of the class in each subject that they're doing, so you can easily see where your child's sitting, how they're doing in every subject. Yeah.
The goal ultimately is to say how your kid's succeeding, and to move away from comparison grades. Because the notion is, here's what your kid's getting better at, so we get more of a task-oriented progress rather than, because we know how damaging one kid comparing to the other, and what you'll read about when you look at language arts is most of the research says, as soon as a kid gets labelled as such and such, they will perform to the label.
Yeah, but what I mean is, also, I don't know if this is just my opinion or if Rob's gonna agree with me, but in order, parents don't want to hear that their kid's not doing well, so they're only seeing what their kid is doing. How are they gonna know if they're above or below?
Well, that's part of educating parents about, because one of the issues maybe some of you encountered, if you are classified dyslexic or just have you're slow at picking up word comprehension, it's just a developmental process. Like I went from bottom of the class to top of the class in like a 6-month period, but everyone was worried about me until 11, and suddenly and it was nothing to do with me not trying, it was just I wasn't able to. But if you get labelled, they're the kids that become the deviant kids because they're really, really smart, but they've been labelled in the system and they broke. So what they're trying to do is get away from perpetuating a system that we know causes problems. So what you have to do is educate parents where your kid is at and where they're going. So there's always, most across the world now, is trying to say is performing at, is below, or is above. And there's sort of a normalized system with which your kid is working around, rather than in the class the kid is ranked 26 out of 30. Right? And that's what we have to try and look at.
I'm just wondering, for this whole idea of filming these students, like, you film ourselves for stuff to use. It's very hard
Yeah.
to have a class film and then, send that out to parents and say, oh, did you spot your child in the corner
Well,
working on
it's
this?
not a lot of
And
that. A
then-
lot of it is individual.
But then that's the thing, if you make it individual, what are you doing with the rest of your class while you are individually having this one-on-one for 20 minutes? Like,
That's
what is
exactly
your
why
class
she
doing?
did this when she had
But
this.
it's not like it was.
Yeah.
It's not 20 minutes per student. It's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So even if it's 30 seconds, are you constantly having a second person? So are we now going to be co-teaching every single class so that you have one person watching
like-
the class?
Well,
and doing
that's the
something,
thing,
one
just
person
right
doing
now,
it?
this wasn't super useful to her as an individual educator because she couldn't manage the whole class
But
while she
could
did
it
this.
be an individual educator?
Yes, because
Do you honestly
she.
think you could individually film a student and leave the rest of the class?
Yes, I think so. Like if you have them sitting at their desks and they're reading a book, and you're just walking along, it's like, oh, good job, like, oh, good job.
And you don't have to always take.
So what you have to do, Kinga, Chris Campbell came in.
Yeah.
That case study is exactly what you've just described. And a school made a commitment to shifting education away from grades into qualities of experience. And the result was the kids in that school, it was a private school and there's all the other issues, were incredibly successful compared to previous years in that private school. So what you have to look at is what is it that we can do and what is it we need to do to help kids learn. And you're always, all of you are going to be confronted with that. The problem you're going to have in any state system school is we are underfunded for the number of kids we have, but technology is sort of changing the relationship we can have with kids and knowledge. Like over here, all of just going, as you get older, kids are doing it for other kids. So if you put performance together, I will record Lindsay presenting her work and give her feedback. I get a mark for doing that, and she gets a mark for that. So suddenly, give that to 2 grade 5s, you go to Brayford, they're in the corridor, they're already doing that, because they don't need to be supervised by an adult if they've got the tools, right? So it's shifting towards that thinking, rather than all 30 kids doing the same test at the same time.
I wasn't necessarily saying, the idea of shifting from students doing everything at the same time, but my idea was more, what if we put the kids in like a class like this, where everybody's sitting in front of a recorder, and then they can do it. So you're not physically having to sit there with an iPad in front of a kid like this.
And I think what we're doing now, and you're describing it in all the presentations so far, is probably you are helping Brayford teachers start to reimagine. How do we set up our classes? How do we work? If I combine with you, could we do this whilst you're doing that with the rest of my class? There's all sorts of creative ideas that it shifts, but we have to start thinking slightly differently to how we thought 10 years ago, which is what Dale Fletcher was talking about. Probably if I go and see Dale now, she's got ideas that she didn't have a month ago, right? And that's because you've started a process, right? Thank you, guys.